How you doing? I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Today I wanted to talk about 8 things that might be stopping you from quitting drinking alcohol and what you can do about them. Number 1, the main thing is excuses. You make excuses for every part of this. This is the reason why I can't stop. This is the reason why I like to drink. The reason why I can't do this is X. Fit your excuse into it. There's no room for excuses in this. The only person you've got to blame for any of this is yourself. There's nothing else stopping you from doing it, and the only thing that you have to do in this is to not put the alcohol into your body. Any reasons that you have for quitting drinking alcohol, any reasons you have for not quitting drinking alcohol, any reasons you have for staying drinking alcohol, can all be countermanded by much more sensible and much more practical reasons to quit drinking, right? So there is no excuse for doing it. The only way you're going to do this is to stop doing it altogether, to not put the alcohol into your mouth in the first place. So that's reason number 1, excuses. Number 2 is there is nothing else stopping you from quitting drinking alcohol except you, right? Nothing else, right? You're the person who puts the alcohol in. You're the person who has put the alcohol in time after time after time, right? Drink after drink after drink, mouthful after mouthful. And you are the only person who can stop that flow. The only person. So sit down and say that to yourself, that I am the only person who cannot stop myself from drinking. I am the only person who can stop myself from drinking. And the third reason is that you let your brain get the better of you. You let your thoughts get the better of you. You let yourself talk yourself out of these things. It's your brain, it's your thoughts, and it's up to you to direct your thoughts. And don't say that you can't direct your thoughts, because you can. You're directing your thoughts every day. The reason why most people don't quit drinking when they want to quit drinking is because they're taking their thoughts and they're directing them thoughts in the direction that they want them to go, right? They don't really want to quit drinking because they haven't figured out that it's the alcohol that's killing them, and they haven't figured out a way of something better for themselves to do in their lives. They're afraid of whatever's there in the future. They don't want to head that way, so they make excuses. They conjure up reasons in their head why they can't do it, and all these thoughts about why you can't do this and why you can't do that are all conjured up inside your mind, your thoughts. Number 4 is lack of confidence either in yourself or in your goals. So you don't really believe in yourself. You don't believe that you can do it. You don't believe in your goals. You don't believe that your goals are worthwhile or that you are capable of getting to those goals. Another self-confidence thing. It takes a lot of work, that kind of stuff, but it's only a skill thing. It's a skill thing that you need to learn, that you can learn, and that you should learn. Most of this is down to a skill deficit. It's a skill that you don't have. It's a skill that you need in order to progress, but you don't have it right now, and so you think, well, yeah, I can't do it because I don't have the skill. But all skills are learnable, right? And you start to learn a skill by learning the skill, right? Number 5 is no focus. You have no focus that's dragging you forwards. As I say, that's one of the biggest things that you can have. You can have your reason why you want to do this, right? And your reason can be to get away from something, or it can be to get to something. Now, people are twice as likely to avoid pain, to do something to avoid pain, as they are to get pleasure in their lives. So have your big reason why you want to stop and keep that foremost in your mind. But you need something in your life that's going to be dragging you forwards as well. Another reason why people don't quit drinking alcohol is because they don't know what they're doing. They don't feel like they know what they're doing. But most of us are in that position in the beginning. Most of us do not know what we're doing. When I first quit drinking, I had an idea about where I wanted to go. You know, I had an idea that, well, this is who I don't want to be, and this is who I want to be, right? I don't want to be a bad father. I don't want to be a person who fails in the business. I don't want to be a person who weighs 260 pounds. I don't want to be a person who's shoving crap into their mouths day in and day out. I don't want to be a person who is unhappy. I want to be a person who is healthy. I want to be a good father. I want to have a decent weight. I want to be fit. I want to have money in the bank. I want to be successful in my business, right? These things were all the things that I used to get me going. But I didn't know what any of those things meant. I had a good idea what they meant, right? You know, inside my mind I had some sort of rudimentary visions about, well, you know, my life is going to look like this. And 4 years later, some of the stuff is realistic, some of the stuff is happening, other stuff isn't happening, you know. Other stuff is completely different to what I imagined it would be. And I haven't achieved all the goals that I wanted to achieve for myself, right? But, you know, this is an ongoing process. It's a dynamic process, but you have to start out, and you don't necessarily have to know what you're doing. You just have to take a step in the right direction. And that leads me to the next one, which is people do not know where to start, right? They think that they figure out that there's this magical place somewhere that, you know, you're going to wait until you get to a certain point, you know, you're going to wait until January the 1st, right? Which is what I did, but I was close to it when I was quitting drinking. I was thinking about it sort of October, November, the year before, musing over it, and then it wasn't until my son came over during the Christmas holidays, and you know, I've talked about this before, but you know, once he'd gone back and I realized certain things about myself and my son and our relationship and how that was going to go forwards, or how I feared that was going to go forwards, that I made the decision to stop, you know. So it was very close to January the 1st. I didn't actually quit until January the 2nd, but what I'm saying is, there is no right time to quit drinking alcohol, you know. You just have to take the step and go, you know, is it worth my while drinking for another 2 weeks? What am I going to get out of it drinking for another month, right? Leaving it for 2 months or waiting until something different happens. You know, all that alcohol between now and then is going to be going into my system. All that time that I could have been pursuing something else, I'm going to be wasting doing this, right? So is it worth my while waiting? Why not just take the step now and, you know, put up with the discomfort and put up with the fear and put up with whatever else is going to happen, right? But I'm going to take the step even though I don't really know what's happening. I'm going to take the step now. So that's where to start now. Another reason why people don't make the start is because they don't feel that they have the support that is necessary, you know. The only support you need is yourself. You're the only person who can do this. If you've got support outside of yourself, then all well and good, right? But if you don't have it, what's the point in not doing it? Because, you know, by quitting drinking, you can put yourself into a position where you're exploring new areas of your life, right? You're no longer relying on a chemical to alter your brain patterns. You're no longer relying on a chemical to dampen down your life. You're out there and you're experiencing life. And, you know, you find support, you know, doing that. You find people who are in the same boat as you, who are challenged by doing the same things. Or you find people who are want to do the same things that you want to do to get to that same position that you want to do. I'm finding that more in my life now. I've got a mentor in my life now who I started out years ago when I started out first on the internet, and I'm going back maybe 12 years, and I was learning stuff off this guy, and it was just a recent chance thing that I found, I found this guy's details and his number and stuff, and I called this guy on the off chance and stuff, and now I'm getting a half an hour weekly call with this guy. I'm having to pay for it, right? But, you know, like, nothing in life is free, but this is moving me forwards more than anything else in my business and just in the way I'm thinking about things. You know, this guy has been in business a long time, and he's been in this type of business a long time, the online business, and so, you know, it was just another one of those things that I've talked about in another video about chance opportunities, that, just something comes into your path and you've got to grasp it and take a hold of it. And, I wouldn't have found that if I hadn't have stopped drinking. And it was funny because the first website that I ever had with this guy, that, learning from this guy, was a website on brewing your own beer at home. That was the first ever website I had, and I'd forgotten all about that. And isn't that just a totally ironic, sort of a weird, fucked up sort of a thing, that my first journey into creating a website was on beer, and this is my most successful thing that I've ever done, was doing alcohol mastery, teaching people how to avoid beer and, how to look at beer. But anyway, I'll add another one here because I just thought of it now as a ninth one. I know this is only 8, but as a ninth one, one of the things that people don't really, why they don't move forwards in their life, is because they fear that they're going to succeed. And I know that might sound counterintuitive, but it's true, It's, a lot of times people think, well, if I really get to the stage where I'm a year down the road and I've actually built something in my life that precedes my drinking, I can't drink anymore because of it, right? If I drink anymore, then I'm going to lose all of this that I've built up for myself. Then I really cannot drink anymore. And that is a success that people fear. It's the same kind of a fear that people have when they think about never drinking again alcohol, right? But you get to the year, and I'm telling you now, once you get to that stage and you feel the way that you feel after you've stopped drinking alcohol, you get over that year mark, and it is a big milestone. I'm not a big fan of counting dates, but it is a big milestone. It's one of those things that just makes you feel like you've achieved something great. And it's not just a milestone, it's the fact that you've done so much. You remember so much of that year. You've gone away on vacations, you've built things, you've built relationships, whatever you've done in your life, but it's a constructive year, and it's a milestone to celebrate that level of construction in your life, that level of self-engineering, if you like, right? That you've done this yourself. You haven't hidden away from life anymore. You haven't used any substances to try and shortcut life anymore. You've taken life by the scruff of its fucking neck, right? And you've dragged life with you, and you've achieved something. And that's, once you get to that level, that success, you can think about alcohol and think about it in the sense of, I am never drinking again. What was I thinking all those years, drinking alcohol? Why did I ever think that alcohol was ever going to give me anything? It's given me nothing. It's taken away from my life. And I have no compunction now about saying I will never ever drink again, right? All the things that I've talked about, and this is by no means the end deal of the list of why people, there's many hundreds of reasons why people won't quit drinking alcohol, right? This is just 8 or 9 of them, right? And some of them are caused by a skills deficit, like I've said, because you haven't got the skills necessary, right? But you don't need the skills to do this. You just don't put the alcohol into your mouth in the first place, and you go from there, right? Some of them are to do with fear, right? Fear of the unknown, fear of success, fear that you're going to make an idiot out of yourself, fear about what other people are going to say to you. All of these things, that's all bullshit, right? And you can get over that, once you take the fear on board and move yourself regardless of what's happening, right? Because at the end of the day, the fear is in here. It's not out there, You can deal with whatever's out there. You can deal with success, like I've said. You get success, and it's the best thing to stop fear altogether. The action of just moving forward will stop the fear. Dealing with people is never as difficult as you might think it is, right? Finding new friends, rejigging your old friendships, all that kind of stuff, is a lot easier than you think it's going to be. And a lot of stuff is just, a lot of the reasons why people don't quit is just pure procrastination. It's just purely down to people, well, yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. Can't be arsed doing it today, I just want to drink tonight, and I want to enjoy myself now. so I'll do it tomorrow. And that sort of procrastination, that's going to always defeat you, because procrastination defeats you in the moment, right? Procrastination is not something that you can get to tomorrow and you can have the same procrastination. I'll put it off until tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes, and you never do these things. So just think about all the things that I said throughout these things, all those 8 or 9 points, and just try and work through them. If you don't have something that you need to learn, then go out and learn it. Learn it bit by bit by bit by bit. If you don't know something about something, ask. That's what I keep saying to people. If you want to have a video done right by me, just ask a question. Leave a question in the comments below what you're stuck with, right? And I'll make a video of it, or I'll point you out to a video that I've already done, right? But the point is to ask. If you don't ask, I can't do this, right? If you're not asking me, ask somebody else, ask somebody else who knows what they're talking about. Don't ask another drinker about how to stop drinking, because they're not going to tell you anything, They're still drinking, they're still on the drug, So look, I'm going to end it there. If you want to come over to the website, we've got so much information over there. We've got over 600 videos. It's just a great resource now that's been built up over this last 4 years. A lot of the videos are from the beginning, right, which show my mentality when I stopped and the fears that I had. And I might not be voicing those fears, but you can see them. You can see them in my face, in what I'm saying, in how I'm doing things. And you can see the growth of me as a person over those 4 years, and you can see what a life without alcohol is like and how you can progress. My life was going downwards before I stopped drinking alcohol. Now it's going upwards, right? So go over there, have a look at the videos. We've got a load of courses as well over there, which, I'm charging for these videos, but this is how I make my living now, right? So there's 3 different courses at the moment. There's going to be a couple more added this year. And they're basically everything that I'm saying within those 600 videos, but they're condensed down into a step-by-step thing. So if you want to save yourself a lot of time, right, take one of the courses, because I've got a course on the Stop Drinking Alcohol, which is basically around the whole philosophy about what I talk about, and a lot of stuff about just rethinking drinking in our lives, in our culture, and all that kind of stuff. I've got one on preparation, how to get yourself from thinking about drinking alcohol to actually quitting, and building yourself up and giving yourself that whole G up to do it. And then I've got the 30-day alcohol reboot, which is has a little bit at the beginning. It's got a before unit, during unit, and an after unit, and it basically takes you a little bit about preparing yourself to quit drinking, but the most part of it is going through the first 30 days and how to get through those, and then what to do afterwards, whether you're going to go back on the alcohol, whether you're going to decide. Very small part about that, and I don't encourage you to do that. Most of it is about going forwards and building on your momentum and building on your successes of what you've done in the last 30 days. So I'm going to leave it here. I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Take care of yourself. Right? Keep the smile on your face, keep positive, keep the alcohol out of your mouth, onwards and upwards. Take care. All right, bye-bye now.